All right, let's look at an example. Okay, let's look at this one right here. So we got to tell whether the angles are only adjacent and form a linear pair, or if they're not adjacent. So it talks about angle AEB and angle BED. Okay, so AEB is going to be this angle right here, and BED is going to be this whole angle right here. Now, first thing that we need to see if it's adjacent. So what makes an angle, two angles adjacent? Who can tell me? Yeah. They share a common vertex and a common side. Do those two angles share a common vertex and a common side? They do. Okay. Now we need to see, do they form a linear pair as well? Is this going to be yes or no? What do we think? Raise your hand if you think it's yes. You should all have your hands raised. Okay. It's going to be a linear pair because these two angles are connected to this straight line. Okay. Or these are opposite rays. All right. So this is an example of a linear pair. Okay. So it's adjacent and it forms a linear pair. Okay. There's just a little example. Let's look at this one. This one says AEB. Okay. So again, it's this angle and BEC. So this angle. Do they share a common vertex and a common side? Yes. So what does that make it? Adjacent. Are these going to be a linear pair? No. These are not. Okay? Because this angle is not included. Okay? So it's just our AEC. All right? So this is not a linear pair, but those are adjacent angles. Like where like E is the vertex of this angle. Okay? It's where like the two rays meet. All right, it has more examples, but we're not going to do those. All right, here's two angles that you really need to know. Complementary and supplementary angles. We're going to talk about these pretty much the whole year. So you really need to know the difference between these two angles. All right, so when we talk about complementary angles, okay, complementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay, when we have an angle that's a 90 degrees, what kind of angle is that? Yeah, it's a right angle. Okay, so with complementary angles, it's always two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. They have a sum of 90 degrees. So in this case, if you look at some of those angles, if you look at angle A and B, if you add those two angle values together, those are going to equal 90 degrees. So those two angles are complementary. Then when we talk about supplementary, those are two angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. Okay, so in this example, angle A and angle C are supplementary. Okay, so supplementary equals 180 degrees. Complementary equals 90 degrees. Okay? You've got to know the difference between those two. Okay. Then here's the last type of angle. All right? We got vertical angles. Okay? So vertical angles, don't write all of this down, just know when we have vertical angles, draw this example, okay, with the numbers, and then I'll explain it. So draw our two lines that intersect. Don't worry about the words, so just draw those angles. So when we have two lines that intersect, like this, all right, our angle 1 and angle 3 are going to be congruent. Those are going to be the same values. Then our angle 2 and our angle 4 are going to be congruent to each other. Okay, so 1 and 3 have the same value, 2 and 4 have the same value. Okay, so let's say that angle 1 is 120 degrees. Okay, who thinks they know what angle 3 would be? Yeah, it's just going to be the same value. So 100 or angle 3 is also going to be 120 degrees. Okay? If we're given angle 1, okay, we can also solve for angle 2. Anyone have an idea of how we can do angle 2? How we can solve? Not 360. 180 minus 120. Okay? Our angle 2 and our angle 1 are going to be supplementary to each other. All right, Weston, put it away. Okay? They're going to be supplementary to each other. And what do supplementary angles equal? 180 degrees. So if we do 180 minus 120, we get angle 2. So what's 180 minus 120? 60. Okay? So if the angle 2 is 60, what's angle 4? 60 degrees. Okay? Does that make sense? Let's look at this next example then. No, we don't need that. All right, give me 1 second. We're going to go back to this. And we're going to do some examples together. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 1. Okay, number 1, what we need to do is here's some examples. It says, which angle number represents an angle vertical to AGD, the angle of AGD. So our angle of AGD is going to be the same as angle 3, okay? So it's this angle right here. It says which angle represents an angle vertical to AGD, sorry. So what angle number is going to be vertical to where our angle is? Yeah, Breck? We're not finding the value. Yeah, angle 1, okay? Angle 1 is going to be vertical to angle 3, okay? What if I said, what about if I said this angle right here? What angle is vertical? Our angle 5. Perfect. Okay. The next one, it says angle UXR. It just says what angle number represents that angle. Who can tell me? UXR. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. It's going to be this angle right here. Okay. So you're going to have examples like this where you just have to identify the angle values. Let's look at these two. Let's look at number 2. If we have these two angles right here, these two complementary on number 2, are they complementary angles? No, why not, James? Yeah, those aren't going to add up to equal 90 degrees, but what are they going to add up to equal together? Yeah, 180. So, so that we're finding A. So if we're solving for 180, the way you can solve this is we can say A plus 35 equals 180. So all we're doing is just 180 minus 35. So who can tell me what that is? Close. 145. Okay? So that's our value of angle A, 145. Let's look at number 4. I'm going to try to zoom in the best I can. But I don't... Oh. We need to find the missing angles right here. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at this. So let's start with angle H. Who can tell me how we can solve for angle H? Yeah, James? Yeah. Since we have this angle, these two angles right here are going to are supplementary. So they're going to add up to equal 180. So all we have to do is just 180 minus 66. And what is that? Who can tell me what that is? 114. And there, that is our value for H. What about our value for G? How can we figure out G? Yeah? G and this angle of 66 are vertical angles. So we know G is going to be 66 degrees. Okay? So let's move down now here. How can we solve for K? Yeah, K and 40 are vertical angles. So since this angle is 40, K is also going to be 40. Now how can we solve for M? What'd you say, Layla? Yeah, these two angles are supplementary. So if we do 180 minus 40, we can solve for M. So what is that going to be? And there we go. 140 degrees. Okay, how do we feel about that? Good? Now let's look at page 2. Let's look at 5 here. I'm still trying to figure out the zoom. Okay, here we go. Who thinks they have an idea of how we can solve this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, since this has a square right here. Perfect. Since this had a right angle box, okay, we know it has to be 90 degrees. All right, so we know every value of all these angles, okay? And since they're connected to a straight line, that means they're going to be what? It's going to be 180 because they're all supplementary. So in order to solve, all we have to do is 7d plus 2 plus 90 plus 60 equals 180. Okay? We combine all our numbers together. We have 7d, then we do 2 plus 90 plus 60. That's going to be 152 equals 180. Subtract our 152. What's 180 minus 152? Yep, I almost wrote 70 twice. 28. Divide by 70, and what is our x or our d value? 4. Do we see what we did there? Let's look at 7. It says angles 1 and angle 2 are complementary. If angle 1 equals 3x minus 1 and angle 2 equals x plus 3, we need to find the measure of angle 1. First thing that we need to identify, it says complementary. So what does that mean the two angles are going to add up to equal? 90 degrees. So if those two angles add up to equal 90, we're just going to do 3x minus 1 plus x plus 3 equals what? 90. Okay? Add our x's together. Negative 1 plus 3 is going to be 2 equals 90. Subtract 2. And what is 88 divided by 4 going to be? All right, is that our answer? No. Yeah, we got to find the measure of angle 1. So where do we plug 22 into? Yep, 3x minus 1. So we have 3 times 22 minus 1. What's 3 times 22? 66 minus 1. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's look at 6. When we look at 6, are those going to be vertical angles? Are the values that we're given, are those vertical angles? Are 6x minus 8 and 110, are those vertical? No. Are they complementary? Supplementary? Yeah, so if they're supplementary, what did that add up to equal? 180. So on this one, we got to do 6x minus 8 plus 110 equals, 180 degrees. Okay? Combine our numbers. We have 6x plus 102 equals 180. Subtract our 102. And what's 180 minus 102? And what is 78 divided by 6? Perfect. All right, let's look at this final example. Angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. All right? If angle 1 equals 7x minus 16, angle 2 equals 5x plus 12, then we need to find the measure of angle 1. If they are vertical angles, what do we do to solve? If they're vertical angles, how do we solve this one? Well, what do we know about vertical angles? They're the same, so how can we solve for x? We don't add them. No, we don't subtract. We don't divide, we don't multiply. No. How do we solve for x? What did we just say about vertical angles? They're the same. So if they're the same, you just set them equal to each other. Okay? So our angle, because we are saying angle 1 is going to be equal to angle 2. Okay? Because they're going to be the same value. So all we have to do is just 7x minus 16 equals 5x plus 12. And that's how we solve. So we can subtract our 5x over. We can add our 16 over. That gives us 2x. 12 plus 16 is going to be 28. Divide by 2. What do we get for x? It tells us to find angle 1, so we got to plug it in to our value. So it's 7x minus 16. What's 7 times 14? 98 minus 16. And there's our answer. Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay. You got about 8 minutes to work on homework. Okay. You will have time to work on it tomorrow. Or in class. Yes. Okay. Don't forget that worksheet's due tomorrow. I'll give you guys time to work on it tomorrow, but I need you to work on it for the next 8 minutes. Okay? And remember, I can track that. So, go ahead and work on Delta Math for the next 8 minutes before you get dismissed out of this class.